Okay, so TMZ, which has been kind of a part of this portion of our story, actually, with the drug portion, which, do you guys not find this interesting that no lawyer, no police officer, no FBI, no anybody questioned me about this side drug ring, right? I'm just pointing it out, and they knew, and I just posted the entire report from that. I don't know, it's around 1998, I believe. Actually, let me look at it because Board of Inquiry into the yeah, oh, okay. So it was actually done in 2000, this report. Okay, so it went back. Okay, yeah, so they totally overlooked. I did a whole series of posts on each area where they overlooked, right? So they did not see women of sexual violence as a victim. They just called them all prostitutes, and it included children and human trafficking and all that. And so they said sex with prostitutes, right? So they had used this terminology then. So what that meant was it included children, runaways, just any human trafficking victim, anybody, and they're abusing their power. So they're automatically victims, right? All of them that were involved in that, right? So they had worded it like that. And then it was just this total overlook of like, we don't care about the sexual violence and crimes and that these guys beat up women. And so when they, obviously, if they come to a scene of some guy beating up a woman, they all relate because they all beat up women, right? They also taught them to target women and then, to slut shame them for doing anything like that. And ignored the fact that men were forcing us to do things, right? Like they completely just went, psh. So when my stuff came out in 2001, they looked at it like I'm the slutty little kid, even though I never even met these people in my life. And then they tried to, rape me and all that shit, right? The celebrity camp over there. So when you're looking at the Michael Jackson case, there's no way in hell they looked at that case properly because this was their mindset. And we could prove it just even from the 2000 report, right? So one of the other scenarios in this drug ring was that Michael's team was doing something here, right? And there could be a very good argument for that. And a couple of things happened here, actually, that some people might not know. So, as I was saying, I was posting stuff on TMZ about Ola, right? So, that was the first initial thing, right? But I put a lot more blame on the men involved in this whole thing because I actually don't know if she's like a victim actually in the thing. I mean, I'm leaving that up in the air because it's just like, what the hell? Because it was like one woman and then all these like rapist men, right? And she had a drug problem, and they may have taken advantage of this situation in some way. Okay, so I'll keep it like that. So in the story, I brought it up on TMZ. TMZ doesn't care. Isn't that interesting? Because they're so into like the most stupidest fucking information versus the real information. But okay, then. And it's not me saying that Michael raped me. It's a weird thing, right? So it's a side story that occurred, and it's a factual story that occurred because there's a court case on it, and it hit the media, but they were kind of like, we're going to ignore that thing. Like somehow they don't think it's connected or something. Well, the people involved in it are friends with Michael, or at least the one guy had grown up with Jermaine and them for a long time, since childbirth, right? So you're looking at family, friends, other people that did work with them and stuff. Now, apparently, like, they had some type of relationship there. I don't know all the inner story of that because when I went looking online for information on these people, it stated that Michael bailed her out of jail. And I was quite pissed about that. I don't know if he was alive at that time when I saw that. It may have been later. Because I didn't do the actual clip on that thing till, I believe, 2016. But I was already going in on it, okay? But I wasn't saying much. I was just like, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if somebody gave me my money back? Wouldn't it be nice? It was going there, right? Then, right before he died, I started pulling up his case. I go, maybe he really did do that. And yada yada, right? So I bring this up onto, I believe it was Twitter, because I think I was like going through it, and it was kind of weird because I think he was online. I think he had a Twitter or something. I don't know. Anyway, so I was just kind of looking at it, and then he dies, and I'm like, interesting. And then this whole drug thing came up, and I'm just like, yeah, we were in a drug ring. There was a drug ring going on the side there too. And it was right at the time that the initial allegations were coming up, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I go, they said my car was in Bel Air, right? So these were some of the strange connecting things to this. And I was like, yeah, because they lured me to the home under the pretense of using Michael Jackson's name. And I said this, I go, we were driving or walking down the street. We were driving or walking, I don't remember, but me and the other girl, and this guy's standing around. He looks like some typical rocker dude. You know what I mean? It was just this thing. They're like, oh, Thriller, Michael Jackson, blah, blah. They're going to have this party. Do you guys want to go? It was just like that. It was that nonchalant. So we're like thinking like, I don't know. Maybe he might be there, right? I don't know. I mean, that's how I was thinking about it. You'd have to ask her what she was thinking about it, but I think we were both on the same level of like, oh, this could be really cool. Like it's some type of, celebrity party somewhere, right? So we go, and it's a fucking apartment, and we were both kind of like, huh? I don't know. It was weird. And so we didn't even know where we were going to. And then we get in there, and it's this like dark crack den of an apartment. And it wasn't anything. It was not. I was like, is this for real? And it was Ola, right? So I was like, well, it was her. But everybody in there, I don't remember any other females in there. Now, they may have been. It just became this thing where it was like dark and scary and a whole bunch of creepy ass people, right? And then we kind of hit off onto this bed, It was this weird thing because the bed was like in the room. Like, I don't know. I don't even understand how this even, came about. But yeah, so I remember hiding really far in the back part of the bed to the wall, like something like that. And then they were up in front of me. And yeah, because I was not very, I don't like things like that. So I don't know, but neither did she. So she was the one that knew. She was more educated on that situation than me. Because I guess her brother had an issue with that. And I was like, I don't even know what the hell that shit is. They're like, no, No, because they offered us. They're like, you guys want some crack? And we're just like, what? I asked her, I go, what's that? She says, do not do it. No. And she did not. I'm so glad that she was with me, though, too, because, like, I was just clueless. I was like, I've never even heard of that. Because they didn't, you know what? When we were growing up at that era, all they would do is go, don't do drugs, right? But you don't know what they do or what they are or anything like that. So it was that. It's like I knew it was a drug, but I mean, I didn't know nothing about it. And so she's educating me on it, right? So I'm like, that's interesting. Yeah, so I was like, no, what does that do? I never even heard of it. So anyway, all these people were these massive crack addicts, right? So then there was a lot of music people out here, right? So then it connected to also, you could pull up Suge and all them. They're in the music industry, right? And that's why there was a question in this, because I was like, I don't know if it's a thing where, like, because if it's like a bigger ring of things, then, oh no, they're not going to be saying shit. I mean, obviously not, but it didn't, it was weird because it seemed like there was a more inner thing where they didn't want those people there. Cause that's like I said, I seen people chasing people around. So I was like, well, I don't know. But as far as the Michael thing, I was like, yeah, I mean, so when I looked online, it said something like he bailed her out. So I'm like, oh, well, it seems that they had a relationship then, if that did occur. They didn't bring it up in the investigation, and I brought it up. But then nobody looked at it. And then I go, yeah, because I was like, well, if he has that type of relationship with her during that period, then people that can get drugs would go to these people. I mean, why would you not? See, the thing is the comfort level of knowing where to go. So if your friends are doing it, why would you go elsewhere? And that was a question even with the Corey Feldman thing. I'm like, well, your buddies over here are doing that. Why'd you go downtown, you know? Just a whole bunch of things about it, right? So he don't want to be cooperative, you know, it's just the whole day. I was sober at this moment. I was like, well, no, these people were doing this for a while. We only know for sure that they moved into that place in April, I believe it was, and some things started there. But we don't know what happened prior. Like, there's some things with this. So I'm like, I have no idea because I'm not involved in the whole thing of that. But Michael was high as shit, dude, in that portion. And I don't know when that Klein guy came in, but here's the other portion to it. So because the cops were corrupt, I would say all of them, they were trying to pull out, what they say here, 50% of that Hollywood division. And I was like, no, if it was 50%, that means 100%, because you're not going to be able to do anything with that many people being corrupt. Okay, so it was all of them. And then the narcotics unit guys were extraordinarily corrupt here, okay? So who's kidnapping kids? Who's holding them hostage here? Who's doing this? That was the cops. They had to be the narcotics people. And if you're a narcotic person, a narc officer, you know the effects of drugs, right? So you know what drugs are. You know all the things about it. You know how people sell it. You know the networks of things that are going on, right? You know all these things because you specialize in that, right? And so this was them. And I'm like, yes, so if you see somebody that is doing, say, Demerol. Now, see, Demerol, I had a friend right there at that Rampart job who had an addiction to Demerol. And I guess it happened because she had some back pain or something. And then I was trying to remember the story because I was questioning her about a million things here. She something about her back or something, and I noticed we'd be at work and I was like, is she on heroin? Like, she acts like she's on heroin, right? Like the effects of it make them very, you know, it's a painkiller type of thing, I guess, or something. But anyway, she would just be talking all like this, you know, so, and I had experience being around heroin addicts. So I was like thinking she was on heroin. No, she was open and finally tells me going, yeah, I have to get a Demerol shot because of my back pain, this, that, okay? Then she's like, I drive to Mexico. Fuck, dude, she would drive 3 hours to go to Mexico, get a shot, come back and go to work. Dead serious. And then she had expired tags. So I was like, do you ever get in trouble for all this stuff? She's like, no. I was like, okay. I wanted to know because I was getting targeted, right? Not that I want to bust her or anything like that. But I was like, oh, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, we're over there by Rampart, right? No, they never bother her one fucking bit. She driving to Mexico doing that shit, expired tag, nobody bother her. And I was like, that's very, very interesting. And, oh, she was a nice lady, really nice. She's not a bad person at all. She just had a little problem there. But I learned about it right there, right? So I know right away, like, you'll know right away that somebody's on something. So you might assume heroin. So if anybody never been around anybody that had this addiction. So that's what I was saying. I go, you would probably assume heroin or something like that. And I just had to look up, like, how fast that shit fucking kicks in, you know? It's like under a minute or something, I guess, right? Anybody who ever done that, you would know it would kick in pretty quick, right? Because if you inject it, things like that, right? Okay, so we're listening to this guy. I'm just going to play it. You listen to it. And then find all the bullshit in it. Because to me, I'm sitting here going...
I'm Kerry Anderson. And prior to working with Michael Jackson as the director of security, I worked LAPD for several years. I worked narcotics. I was considered a court-qualified narcotics expert. I dealt with Arnold Klein a couple of times. Michael had me go down and pick him up once and bring him to Neverland. I walked Dr. Klein probably 20 feet from the courtyard area inside Michael's main residence. I walked him upstairs to Michael's room. Michael had requested get Dr. Klein something to drink. So I went back downstairs, and myself and another personnel in the house, and we weren't gone any more than, I would say, 4 minutes at the most. And by the time I got back up, Michael was so out of it. So whatever he gave him, I've never seen a narcotic do somebody like that so quick, because Michael was perfectly normal when I went upstairs, and in a 4-minute period, he was almost a zombie. So it must have been some kind of injection of something. And at times you'd want to put hands on people like that. I don't have a lot of good things to say about people like that. He's disgusting to me.
Arnie Klein shot.
This is the main guy. This is the main guy that when they did this video of all the terrible people around Michael and help enable them do drugs, the one person that was really problematic to me was the narcotics guy. Because the narcotics guy is acting like he never seen a person get drugged out that quickly. Also, another thing about it is that he seems to have timed it. So you were clocking it. I mean, I don't believe that. So normally, a normal person might go, there's a couple ways you would answer this, because mostly when you're not paying attention, like, why would you be clocking anything? You're just like, oh, Arnold came over, told me to get him a drink. I got him a drink, and then I came back up. I was like, maybe about 5 minutes or something, or no more than 5 minutes. You would say something like that, right? He's like, 4 minutes. What an odd number. So to me, I'm like, somebody's lying. You were well aware of something. Yeah. So the thing is that these narcotics guys were heavily corrupt. Okay. Heavily corrupt. So he's going on like that. But then he's trying to play this game that he's never seen anybody get that zonked out that quickly. So if you've been around heroin addicts or anybody else like that, you would know that they would be just as fucked up. And you would actually assume that maybe he just gave him heroin. Like, you would be questioning these things, right? So his job is to be a bodyguard, to save him and make sure he's safe and, you know, all this crap. And you're a narcotics guy, so you know what to do, right? You know what to do in this situation. You know that you need to go target his fucking practice. It doesn't get Michael necessarily busted there. So he could go target the practice and see if that's what they're doing. Because he just saw it. And then he's saying that he would put his hands around people's throats, but he sat there and allowed it to happen. So he's not that mad about it. And not at the time, right? So that's what the narcotics guys are supposed to do, right? They're supposed to go sting and bust, right? So now you had an indication that somebody's doing something that looks pretty damn illegal, and there's something going on here. Now, they could have turned around and found out like it was a prescription, like they have the right to, you know what I mean, some other thing. And then nothing happens, right? But he had it right in front of his face. So why is the narcotics guy just sitting there and trying to pretend this saint, ignorant, like nothing, and did nothing? All you need to do is see it one time. That's it. Because now you're an actual eyewitness. So now you have a reason and a probable reason to go do something, right? Yes. But that's the narcotics guy. We're not expecting everybody else to do that. But this is the LAPD narcotics guy. That's why I was like, no, out of anybody here, that guy. And those are the guys that were involved in all this other stuff. So this is where that other connection could be. And like I said, the only person of color that I recall is the guy on the corner. Now, it doesn't mean that there wasn't any more. It just could mean that I just didn't feel it necessary to keep that in my memory bank. That's possible. But my memory is of most of the officers that I actually spoke with, that I recall personally, were white males. So, But it doesn't mean that they weren't involved in some of the other stops, because there were so many that it's really possible that they were there, or they were like their sidekick and they stayed in the car when they were harassing me on the one side, right? That could be, and I just wasn't, it just wasn't of an importance to me at the time. But I will tell you that the ones that were in Nevada were all white. The two males in the Hollywood division portion was white. The other individual in the WeHo Hollywood area was white. The other officers that would come to the scene of crimes that they were called on were white. So one individual I spoke with said there was a black officer that was being not right at a later point, but they would have to report that. But yeah, there was an incident somewhere else, and that was a black male cop. So I don't have that one in our stuff. The sheriffs that were, oh yeah, and so in the mix, there was also some Hispanic LAPD officers, or some, I don't know if any of them are sheriffs. That's the thing. When this was going on, there were so many stops and weird things. I didn't pay attention to if it was a sheriff or LAPD. I always just kind of assumed it was LAPD. However, in some of our stuff, there is sheriffs. So I was like, oh shit. And then they want me to differentiate between who was who. And the only way to do that is for me to then call and see if they had a record of this thing. And technically, most of them, they don't, because they're being corrupt, right? So then the one that I know, it was definitely a sheriff, but we didn't know who was what. And I think I honed down on who it was. And then I called them, and then they wanted to play a game of, could be us or somebody else, those other guys. They said those other guys. I'm like, other guys? I don't know who the fuck they're talking about, but they're all, what's your problem? Nothing happened to you. That's how they spoke to me. So they're just throwing it off, right? So those are the sheriffs, okay? So yeah, they were part of it too. So that's why I said, it's really difficult the way that they want me to package up all this shit and go after it all. Because I'm like, okay, well, here's the question. Why are both of them tag teaming and volleyballing on me to begin with? Regardless of who's doing what. Why are they both doing this to me, right? So, but when you go back into this thing, well, they brought up the Michael case. I tried to reach out to certain people if they need this information, because I feel it's important that people know there absolutely was a drug ring. It's proven there was a drug ring. It literally made the media, and I'm a victim in it. So, and there's another victim in it. There's two kids. So here's the thing, like, they would want it shut down because Michael's being accused of molesting some kids, right? So this is kind of a side story to that thing where two other kids are abused in a drug ring. So what is the correlation, right? Well, Michael's doing drugs and he's got kid shit going on, and the cops are related in this weird dynamic going on, right? So they were doing all these court cases. So at the same time, this is another thing that's going along with this entire show, is they're trying to push me into homelessness and stealing all my fucking money and doing plots on me here and there and doing this and that, right? And LaToya's getting targeted up the ass in the media in the early portions, and all her stuff was pretty true. I mean, what she was saying there. And the way that I viewed it originally when I was bringing this stuff back up was I was thinking like, oh, this might help the family out because they may not be aware of this other thing going on over here. And yeah, and then it turned into Jermaine wants to be the biggest asshole, and he's hanging out with fucking human traffickers, Nygaard, and Michael's hanging out with Nygaard, and everybody's molesting kids in front of everybody, and everybody's just like, everything's fine, we just love kids. I'm like, no, this is not right. Even if he was acting like a child, none of this stuff should have been going on. None of it. But another thing is that Michael had so many LAPD officers around him that you need to question this because they were extraordinarily corrupt. There's a whole report on them, okay? And somebody else brought it up. Okay, so I'm the one bringing up the narcotics thing, the bad informants. There's some side gang activity here. I don't know. Michael was known to have been pals with those people too, so that could be, it could be an addition. Who knows? But my car definitely was in Bel Air. So we know this because the cop showed me. Why did the cop show me this though? This is another thing. It's so weird. It's like being very vindictive in some aspect. Like, we know all this is going on, and let me show you. It was a fucking weird thing. And they start scrolling through this like long list of places, and I see Bel Air and Beverly Hills, you know, all these places, right? I'm like, huh? And he's like, yeah, all this, but we're going to cover it up right now. Yeah, and so, okay, so this is totally relevant because, let's see something here. Because everybody's saying that when did the Michael Jackson thing happen? When did the first accusation happen? Because this is where there were some discrepancies in it, because I thought my thing happened first. And as early as 1993, right? Why were people saying 1992? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, accusations. Let me double, triple check. Yeah, 93, right? Why do people say 92? It says, in 1993, Evan Chandler, a dentist and screenwriter based in Los Angeles, accused him of that, right? Our stuff was in 1992. He had no accusations yet, you guys. So they were covering up this side thing. And at no point did an investigator come to me, and my dad knew about it too in some way, because I'm calling my dad to rescue me, and I'm believing that it was because I brought up Ola that he started talking about the Michael thing. So he had information on the investigation because he's an investigator. I know, some bullshit, right? It came up in this conversation in 93. Because I finally was able to get back home for a hot minute, and then they didn't want me there, and then I got abused there, and this other thing happened, right? And then I had to come all the way back. It was horrible. This whole thing is really bad. But he brings this up, and I wasn't even thinking about Michael himself, because Michael wasn't in the ring itself, the situation going on. So at the time, I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe they're making that up. I don't even know why I would think they were making it up, because these people did this to me, and quote unquote, nobody actually looked at raping little boys as a big deal anyway then. And they were literally out in the open human trafficking children. So they didn't have any specific boundaries on children at all. And they were blaming kids for them getting raped. Okay, this is the actual time period. So Michael started spinning this whole thing. It was fucking crazy. But there's people that still believe he's innocent. I'm like, dude, I'm literally watching him totally macked out on kids, which that never should have happened. We're targeting that right now as well, of these men doing that shit. And then pictures of him with his hands all over kids, like in ways that you shouldn't. And they're not his kids, right? And even if they were his kids, yeah, there's a lot of inappropriate contact, right? So, and him sleeping with kids and all this, and then the kids trying to protect him. And nobody at that time told these young boys that you could be a victim. And what does it look like to be a victim? You know what I mean? There's a lot to it. And so that's why I re-brought it up, because I was re-examining. I think I was just about to go into therapy, or I was in therapy. I think I was just about to go in therapy. And I was re-examining the case, and I was like, yeah, I think it's probably true. Like, it went into this other thing, right? And then all of a sudden, it kind of revamped, a lot of other stuff. So I don't know, me talking just generally, I think, other people sit and listen to it and go, oh, you know what, that happened to me. Something, I don't know. But the more I can be annoying about it and people have to hear it, then it's better, right? So that came out. But none of these lawyers came to me. And I'm like, that's kind of interesting, because I'm a child victim in this stuff. And if Michael's helping my perpetrators out, I have some major questions with this. But I can't verify that because nobody did the investigation on it. There's a major hidden ring here. Why did they hide it, though, initially? That's the thing. And then somehow somebody else discovered, I don't know what is going on here. So, yes, they initially hid the ring. Then they get busted in September. Then they leave me out of the whole context of the story. And I'm like the biggest victim in the entire fucking thing, okay? We got raped. They tried to fucking human traffic me out. They tried to do all kinds of shit, you guys. Horrible, horrible, horrible things. Horrible, horrible things that you would just wish to forget for the rest of your life. And at no time did anybody try to get my stuff back. I mean, we have auto theft, we have fucking grand theft, we have kidnapping, you know what I mean? Abduction. You know, I mean, a list of crimes that it goes on and on and on. And I'm sure a legal person could figure out a million other crimes that they did to me that I'm not even thinking of. And at no point in 1992 were you able to just go take a kid and walk around in the public with them. So, yeah, it was illegal then. But if you go through the board of inquiry, the Rampart area corruption incident, if you go through that whole thing, you're going to see all the fucking problems and the current problems right now, because they were totally fine with rape. At no point are they really mentioning rape. They're just talking about robberies, you know, these corrupt narcotics guys, anything related to men, crime on men type of shit, that's fine. That was their main focus. Their other focus was not on cops raping kids, raping women, beating them up, showing up on scene, and making false reports on what the actual thing that happened. Cops stalking girls, cops making up fucking crimes to go try to take money from women, putting illegal GPS devices on their vehicles, which is what I suspect. Because they didn't have what they have today, right? So today they're doing the Apple thing and throwing it in their cars. Okay, yeah. So that shows that they definitely probably were doing the GPS thing, right? Yes, because that's what we suspected. Because I'm like, it is impossible at that time for every fucking city to be looking out for me. And why are they looking out for me like I'm a suspect? You know, and then they brought up the suspect thing. They go, were you ever a suspect? I'm like, fuck no. What are you talking about? Would I know? Suspect to what? The only thing that happened here, and the honest to God truth, was the drug ring and me trying to get out of it and LAPD giving me to those people. So that's what happened. And it's related to Michael Jackson's friends. Yes. So Jermaine, maybe we should question Jermaine because Jermaine is alive. And the Diana Ross's brother is the friend of all of theirs, right? Or at least was. And they all seem to have drug problems. So there's something with that. So that was the other connecting factor in this original story. And those people, holy shit. If you want to look at it in that aspect versus some like Suge Knight with his trashy cop friends, now, that could be related in this. Like, I don't know the relationship with, say, Michael Jackson. I don't know the relationship with, say, Ola Ray, right? I don't know that because I don't recall any of that interaction. She might know, and they're not going to tell me, right? So, okay, so we have this going on, okay? And Michael, indeed, had a drug problem that whole time. Now, another problem with this that I had is that everybody knows he has a drug problem and he's around children. Okay, well, CPS would not allow this, okay? So none of these adults reported this to CPS that this drug addict guy is around a bunch of children. You have to get the children removed from that shit, right? Yes, so he is in harm, you know, putting harm to the children because of his drug addiction, right? Yeah, so then now we have these other people involved, and they're just they're covering up for their shittiness of being a human, right? They're not a human. They're shitty humans. So they're in here barely coming up going, I feel kind of guilty. Yeah, no, you guys were all a part of the shit. And you allowed children to get touched and allowed them to get abused. You allowed all this shit. And you're just trying to paint yourself as a saint. You weren't a saint. Because if you were a saint, you would have totally told on that Arnie Klein guy. Dude, if I seen this even in that time, I would be like, I think we need to get that guy fucking busted, dude. Like, what the fuck is he doing? You know what I mean? If this, okay, these people are claiming that Michael's their good friend. Okay, you're gonna sit there and watch your good friend get fucked up by some piece of shit dude coming in all the time. No. No, I would be fucking furious if my friend all of a sudden, and this happened, right? At my job, some stupid girl brings in alcohol, right? And leaves it. My friend is like a recovering drunk. You know, she has issues, right? And she was doing so good. I met her sober. She's the greatest person. I met her sober, right? All of a sudden, someone brings some shit to work. They leave it out. She finds it, dude. Got the temptation. And she went downhill from there, and I don't think she ever came back. It was fucked up. I wish I knew who did that. Because that person is a bad you-know-what to me. But again, it's her choice to do these things. However, it wouldn't have happened had our place not had this shit going on. There was a lot of shit going on inside our job, at one of our other jobs. And these girls should have went down. Okay? There was a group of them there. But particularly this one I was thinking of, but I don't know. But anyway, these girls were so out of control. And yeah, it was effed up. So they did this. So yeah, I mean, but there was no way for me to find out who did that. But if I found out who did that, then I would go tell the owner, and then this shit happened, right? But I couldn't do anything because I don't know who left it. I just know that it happened, and I was like, oh man, what the hell? And they're not even supposed to be doing that. She's not supposed to be doing that shit, you guys. Yeah, so you have a situation where you're watching some guy meet up with your pal that you're hired to take care of, and you're a narcotics guy. You watch him get zonked out, and then you do nothing. Yeah, there's your narcotics guys from LAPD. But the guys from the narcotics units were also doing drugs and wheeling and dealing, and the guys that took off and did the robbery were hanging out with drug dealers. And that was the thing about it. I go, yeah, there's the connecting thing right there. So what was the thing with the Michael Jackson clan and the narcotics unit? And so somebody, okay, so I think I screenshotted it. Let me see what happened. Because last night I was searching for this. Somebody posted this on Twitter in 2021. Okay, so they're targeting me all to hell. But they don't target these people that post this. Isn't this, because they're not part of it. I am. They go, again, which pedophile hires former police if he needs to cover his tracks? Mike whatever his last name, Perruque, and Carrie Anderson. Carrie Anderson's the other guy, right? Former LAPD sergeant, and he was listed as a witness in the 2005 trial and was present when Gavin was at the ranch. And he was my friend. Is he your friend? I don't know why they're saying that. But anyway, the sergeant from LA County Sheriff's Department, as we know, they're gang members, right? The sheriffs were gang members. So keep that in mind. They were gang members. And then he passed away in 2015, okay? But he was at the department since 1979. And he retired in 2002. And here's the thing about him. I don't know if that's the same guy. Now, this would be really interesting. Let me see something. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so he served a great part of his career at the WeHo Sheriff Station. Okay, now what we know at the WeHo Sheriff Station is they were corrupt, right? They were looking for children. They were watching people get raped all over the street. And that's the Rainbow was part of that whole thing over there, too. So there was a street that I was saying that was by the SAG office or whatever that is right there. So they had a whole bunch of human trafficking and sex work. I don't know what was consensual or not over there. Probably none of it. And the officer, and we don't know if he's a sheriff or not. And this is what I'm trying to determine in that thing right there. Was it a sheriff? Was it LAPD? Because I need to go after one of those and seek information, because that's where this initial point was, where they came up to me looking for a kid and claiming, they said I'm new on the street as a sex worker. And I'm like, excuse me? And so then I told him, my father's law enforcement. What the fuck? Because he's trying to be corrupt here, right? So then he's like, I don't give a shit who your dad is, blah, blah, blah. Then he gets huffy and puffy, right? And he takes off. He goes and checks my information, comes back, gives me a fucking threat. I never want to see you again. Okay, mind you, I'm a kid. Where's my parents? Then tries to call me a liar that I wasn't at the clubs. He's like, they don't allow children at the clubs. I go, yes, they do. They have all ages over there. And that's where we were coming back from. And then the ring had, it's possible the ring people stole my car that night. I don't know why we walked. Like, I would need to ask the witness, but I don't know where the witness is right at the moment. She's probably in Woodland still. But yeah, if we can get a hold of the witness, so they know who the witness is. Anyway, because he wants to target the witness, right? So he goes and he targets the witness. So now there's something on record, okay? So he fucked himself up. So there's something on record. It's a child case. So we have this here. So that's why he did it, though. So he was really pissed off. And I think the MO initially was to look for children. And that he wanted to rape or something. Because he wasn't, what is he trying to bust me for, right? Like, he wants to arrest me? Yeah, no. So we weren't doing anything. He had no probable cause to stop me, really at the time, because they didn't randomly just, look for kids to anything. You can't just run up to any random kid for no reason unless you suspect, like, maybe, even if he thought I was a runaway, he didn't ask for that. He's looking for a sex worker, and they didn't consider them victims, okay? So you have to understand the mindset of this, that there was no real probable cause for this unless they suspected that I was a runaway. Because if they thought I was a runaway, they would go, let me see your ID. Where are you from, right? Not, oh, I just talked to he said prostitutes. He's like, I just talked to them over there, and they said that you're new. Who talks to a child like that? He's being a pervert, and he got caught. So then he gets mad, right? So he makes a threat to me, and then he has us walk away, right? So we're going back to where we were staying at the time. And so anyway, he tries to find something, and then that girl, I was like, that girl something. Anyway, it's on record, okay? That's just the facts of it. So this initial contact was from some officer. It could be a sheriff. It could be LAPD. In the WeHo area. It's in that cusp there. And I'm like, I don't know which department it is. I know where it was at, where the stop was exactly. And then the ring may have stolen my car that night, which may be why we walked. So like I said, I would, maybe the other witness might know, was that the case? Because I don't know why we walked. Maybe we're just feeling extra saucy that night. I'm like, let's just walk a fucking million miles to the fucking thing over there. But yeah, they may have actually stole the car that night. And then they didn't care about that. They didn't care about none of that. So then, and they're watching me with this adult. They're watching me with that adult guy. So anyway, they finally leave me alone. So he purposely did this. He put me at risk now. So the ring now has me alone. Now I don't have any protector, right? I don't have somebody to help me out. I can't help her out. She can't help me out. Now they separated us, right? So now they left me as a major target for the ring, and those people came in and harmed me all to hell. Okay, that's what happened. So that officer, we need to know his name, because that's the piece of shit that did that. Okay, and he left me instead of rescuing me to CPS, right? So yes, that would be the sheriff's department from the West Hollywood Sheriff Station and or LAPD from the Hollywood division. It's either one of those two individuals. Okay. So that dude is working with Michael Jackson, and this is at the time of the Michael Jackson friend drug ring. That's why that was important. So why wouldn't they have questioned this and investigated it, right? Yeah. Then the next guy is Carrie Anderson, which we just talked about, and he has the audio. But I cannot find when he worked at the police department. So I try to look for that. I'm like, well, when was his initial time at LAPD? Because if he's working as a narcotics officer in the 92 portion, oh, no. So then it would just mean that Michael got some people that he knows is going to cover for him and help him out some, you know? Why wouldn't you? He's got the money to do it. And this guy just annoys me to hell, though, because he presents himself as this, like, kind of, I think he's presenting himself as this, like, Christian, you know, good moral guy. And I'm like, what good Christian moral guy watches someone get zonked out and you don't do anything about it? And you're the one trained to do it. You're supposed to, you said you're an expert narcotics guy. I'm like sitting here going, you're saying you're the expert. I'm not an expert in drugs, and I could tell when my friend was on a drug. And I know it was, I was like at the minimum when she's on heroin, but it was Demerol, right? So that's what he was giving Michael there, at least one of the things that they were giving Michael. You don't know all the things that Michael was taking. That's the thing about drug addicts. You just don't fucking know. He could have been doing that and other stuff. And at the earliest point, so we're talking about the 92 portion, and no, he was way the hell high. Like, he almost seemed like he was stoned, like high. But I don't know what he was on. He was around children like that. Kids get removed from parents fucked up like that for a reason. And all these people were handing their kids to this massive drug addict, which just blows my mind because I'm like, I'm sitting here trying to get kids removed from these, like, parents that were just so zonked out, you know, because then all this horrible stuff happens to them, right, you know? And my friend lost her kid because she fell back into that thing, right? Rightly so. You wouldn't want a kid around her like that. And she knows it. And, she's still a good person, but fuck no, not with no kids. It's like, so that's the same thing here. And Michael was heavily abused as a kid. There was a lot of sexual abuse in that portion. And everybody was abusing their own kids at this time. So they see all of this is fine. And we're over here going, and as it's coming out now, all those things were in fact bad. So the young boys just normalized the behavior as being okay. It was not. And the inappropriate touching, the inappropriate closeness with kids, the inappropriate everything. So they did just even the drug portion. It's like, this shouldn't even been happening. What fucking law enforcement goes, let some guy take everybody's kids up in here? Just that alone, okay? Yeah, no, nobody. Because they're sitting there trying to protect a house of something. But we do know the drug portions was so important in this thing. Again, why was it covered up? Why didn't they even come to me? Because I'm the victim in it. I'm a child victim. So I have a feeling they didn't want this connected into this thing because he's being accused of harming kids. And we're not saying that he harmed me, but we're showing this weird connection between his friends and Jermaine being pals with all these people too. Their bad conduct. There was people telling me about their bad conduct as kids and going in their stores and stealing shit. Yeah, there was a store owner guy that was talking to me about the shit that they did, you know, when way back in the day. Yeah, that they would just go in and just thieve, dude. They were little shits, dude. And yeah, they were little sociopaths. Yeah, all the little Jackson guys there. I didn't hear anything about LaToya or any of them doing that, but the sons, yeah. And no, they were terrible. Jermaine sitting there, you know, doing sex shit in front of fucking Michael as a kid. There's so much bad in it. So he has a lot to cover for himself, right? Because if I did something like that, I mean, I would never do anything like that. But it's very incestuous. It's disgusting. And it's a form of child sexual abuse. So that sort of thing was going on there. So of course he's going to defend this. Huh. But, yeah. And Diana Ross, could say something too about her damn brother. So yeah, her brother apparently was involved in this. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know what his relationship is to any street level thing, but other than the ring here. But as far as him being related to the Michael Jackson stuff, yeah, they grew up together. There was pictures of him and Jermaine and Michael and them. Yeah, they know each other well. So yeah, he's gonna come in here and go rescue him out of a fucking drug ring after I'm getting raped and they're trying to human traffic me out. Yes, it was important. So I was like, yeah, the other thing could be that. Like they're trying to push the drug funneling, something to do with drug thing, and our story here. Yeah, in relation to that, because I would have never went to a party if someone didn't go, oh, Michael Jackson, okay, because everybody was fans of Michael Jackson back then, right? Or most people, and you didn't think anything bad of him. You wouldn't think some crack party, come on. So we're kids. We were still kids then, so they're like, Michael Jackson. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go to something, and all that shit. It's gonna be fun. You're thinking totally something way different. Not a crack part. Nuh-uh, not a drug ring. None of that. And then here, sure enough, Michael has a drug problem. Okay? So that's the other angle to this thing. Which then could include a shitload of people, because you're talking about the law enforcement, other government people that help protect him, his lawyers, other fans that were so shitty, dude. They were making death threats to people. I had a slew of them come to me and they tried some shit. They're like, Ola's my aunt. I'm like, I don't give a shit who fucking aunt is somebody. You were not here, so are you going to be promoting the fucking abuses on me? Because it was, like I said, it wasn't Ola that actually did it, but Ola's the one that was like offering, like they were offering all the drugs to everybody, and she's like present, right? It's her place, right? So technically the responsibility is on Ola to know who the fuck comes into her apartment. But she was running she was part of the ring thing with the guy, right? So, but she's not the one, to my knowledge, that had anything to do with the other portions of stealing all my stuff, trying to do the recruiting, trying to do all this other stuff. No, she was like not present. She was not present. Just say it like that. She wasn't present for those things. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I had to relook at it and go, are we sure that she's not a fucking human trafficking victim up in here? Because if you seen what these guys were doing, if you had a drug problem and these guys came in, that's the end of it. They were raping everybody. They were controlling everything. You couldn't even do anything. And if you had a drug problem, you would just fucking, okay, and they're all running you over in your fucking apartment. But, just take some responsibility for that shit. But, no, the guys were the monsters in it. For sure, for sure.